Hey guys, welcome back to the next segment of verbal skills. And Jenny, I think this is going to go on and on and on and on forever.
Never going to end.
Okay, so
the practice of mastering verbal skills, so too will this series
oh my gosh.
continue in perpetuity.
All right, so if you're listening, so we started this whole journey where it was just going to be one webinar, mastering verbal skills. Well, as everything at Dental, I start with ideas and I screwed this whole thing up only because I've been adding slide after slide after slide after slide. This is going to be, we just decided this right now, this is going to be a 4-part series. Now, I could have done it, or Jenny and I could have done it in one webinar, but it probably would have been close to 4 hours long, and it's just a lot. Now, the whole purpose, the reason why we're doing this is we want to give your team some tools. This is all we do. So if you guys are ever wondering, like, what the heck do you guys do? We are practice coaches. We deal with practices all over the country that they're good practices, but they're stuck and they just need better thinking. Now, I want you to think about this. If you're a dentist, your problem is not your problem. It's how you're thinking about the problem. Because if I show you some of the best operators, best teams, best producers, it's not what they say. It's how they think that separates them. And we want to give you a lot of tools. So here's how to get the previous webinars to this series. You can go to actdental.com/verbal and you'll get the entire series. It's hours and hours and hours of training for your team on the best stuff. And Jenny, you were just talking to a team, was it yesterday that we're coaching on this?
Yes, yesterday. I had the opportunity to spend an hour and a half about with one of my very favorite teams, doing one-on-one training about exactly what we're going to talk about today, actually. So
yeah,
some of my favorite things to do. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, we've said this in each one of them, but I want you to talk about why language matters. I'm very biased about this, but if you as a dentist, if you're listening, you get your team to really buy into how to communicate. They use the right words. They're good listeners. They listen to what it transforms your practice. So language matters, right?
Yeah, it really does. And every time I get the opportunity to talk to someone about this, and they can put it into play a little bit, they really begin to see how important it is. And again, I've said this and I'll say it again, the words we use matter. The tone that we use matters. How we lean in and how we listen, it matters. As humans, our brains are hardwired to read into specific terms, to read into specific words, to read into nonverbal communication. And whatever we say to someone, they're already kind of writing a story in their head based on the preconceived notions that they bring with that piece of language or with that tone. So how we deliver things and the words that we choose are really, really important. So we can write the story, not them.
Amen, sister. And so if you haven't watched the previous two, which I hope you have, you already know this. Jenni Poulos, who's on here with me, she's not only an amazing coach, but she also runs an amazing practice. So she's one of those people who just doesn't tell you what to do. She's doing it with a very large practice in Denver. And so let's go ahead and jump right into it. And if you, again, I'll reference the previous two, but we started with some basic skills. And you'll see in webinar 1, we're talking about some of the 8 concepts that you need to have as a dental team. Now, this isn't just for the front desk. This is for everybody in the operatories. You as a dentist, when you're talking to patients, just to be equipped with the right thinking and the right verbal skills. And so this is actually part 3 in the series. And one of the things, I didn't put a slide in here if you're watching, but I want you to think of every obstacle as a boulder. And people are going to give you these boulders, honor the boulder. And I want you to think like this. I'm going to take this boulder, and I'm so glad you gave me this boulder, Mrs. Patient. I'm going to set it to the side. And I know this is an important boulder for you, but let me ask you a few questions. You're going to redirect everything just to make it more relational. In the end, think about your core values. And are you a transactional practice or a relational practice? And that can frame your thinking the right way so that you just don't respond. Most people respond when they're given a challenge. The key to life, or the key to anything, and I think Covey said this, is understanding the gap between stimulus and response. Things are going to happen to you. Questions are going to come your way. And the thoughtful action, or the thoughtful space in between what you get and how you respond, it is the secret to life, and it's the secret to a great dental practice. And in this particular series, we're going to be talking about patients that call you and they try to cancel or they're late. Now, this is a huge problem in dental practices because I want you to think about this. Like, you can do a great job and get them all prepared for dentistry, create a great relationship. But when you get a few cancellations, it starts blowing up your schedule. An empty chair is not no profit. I don't know who said this, but it's negative profit. So we got to find a way to keep these chairs full. And we also have to start with the whole idea of like up front, let's talk about this, Jenni. You mentioned this before we went on, and we can't put the onus on the front desk team to eradicate the practice from all this. It starts way before that. Can you mention what you shared about that?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I gave you an action item in the very first one to start making a say this, not that. And I want you to pull out that list. And the first thing I want you to do is I want you to put cancel and a circle around it and strike through it. We change appointments. We reschedule appointments. We don't cancel appointments, right? Yeah. We want to get rid of that. But reducing changes to appointments, reducing no-shows, reducing reschedules, all starts with the value that the entire team is able to build into that appointment. Again, people pay for things that they value. They show up for things that they value. So if we as a team are really good at communicating the value of the treatment, the value of the appointment to the patient, the likelihood of their changing the appointment, not showing up for the appointment is dramatically reduced. So this starts in the operatory. It starts before the operatory. It starts with the relationships that you're building from day one, really. So don't put all the onus on that confirmation call, right? This is a process that we have to be executing from the first interaction with the patient. And the more they value us and the value of the treatment, the less likely they are to change those appointments.
Yeah. And let's give them an example. So what you do in your practice and then what we teach other practices to do when we're talking about the appointment, when we're scheduling it,
Absolutely.
The whole confirmation thing. Can you share that?
Totally. And this is like something, write this down, put it on a sticky note somewhere that you see it so you can establish this habit. We talked about before that I don't want you to confirm appointments. There is a little caveat there. When you schedule appointments, I want you to tell your patients, we consider all appointments confirmed when scheduled. We'll give you a reminder call, but this time is reserved specifically for you. It's confirmed in our books. So we're putting it in Sharpie in the book, and I want you to put it in Sharpie in the book too. Don't just pencil us in. We've got you confirmed. We reserved the time for you.
Yeah. Now I want you to think about the psychology behind that, because we have a lot of practices we coach in New York and San Francisco. They don't like the word confirm at all, because confirm implies we're going to put you in there and then we're going to check back to see if you're still coming. And so what you're doing is you're laying the groundwork for expectations up front. And we say this all the time. Cancellations don't happen at the front. They happen at the chair. And think about this. Like, you can't throw a grenade at the front and go, hey, good luck. You can't do that. Like, they're so busy. Those amazing people that work your front desk, they've got bombs going off everywhere. They can't remember the clinical conversations. They can't remember the relationship aspects of why the patient's doing the dentistry. So really, as a chairside assistant, as a hygienist, as a doctor, as a treatment coordinator, I'm going to let you know, we're going to get you scheduled. But let me make no mistake, you're going to show up, and so am I. And you're also going to be on time. Oh, by the way, you're going to pay in advance too. Now we'll get to all that, but you want to start with the right thinking, because all you need to do is work. And if you don't agree with us, work the front desk for a week.
It's insane.
Wait, no, because everyone thinks the front desk's so easy. No, you work up there for a week and you'll go, I got to get the hell out of here. Like, this is crazy that I got to try to keep all these appointments. So we want to do as much as we can. The true art of teamwork is I'm going to set you up for success. I'm thinking before I take the patient up the front, before I get this patient scheduled, I'm going to make sure that they show up. So it's going to reduce the drag on everybody up front. So that's kind of the thinking that we want. Anything else that you think, Jenni, about the word confirm? Like, it's not the best word.
It's not. And again, I mean, we talked about this before, but it's one of those things, right? The story that I bring with confirm is that I can change it.
Yeah.
It's not yet confirmed. I like to remind someone of the time that has been reserved specifically for them, right? It carries a different weight. And I just want you guys to remember conceptually with all of this, I've said this, we'll say it again, patients are going to follow where you lead.
Absolutely.
If I am saying this time has been reserved, especially for you, it's now confirmed once it's in our books, they're going to say, okay, I'm teaching you how to behave. And that is my expectation. I will show up for you. I expect you to show up for me.
Yeah. And so I don't know, by the time we're done with this might be a 5-webinar series. Who knows? So there's so many nuggets. I've been doing this for 25 years. And Jenni, you've been doing this a long time. Like there's so many clients that we coach. So this is a great one. Frank Graziano, Tuckahoe, New York. He does this. This is a great one. So they do exactly what Jenni's talking about. And then Marge, or anybody in the team will say, hey, Joe, because they're booking out 4, 5, 6 weeks for a crown. And they'll say to a great patient, now it's a relationship-based practice. They'll go, Joe, I'm going to schedule for you this crown. You're going to do this crown at this time on Monday morning. That's when Dr. Graziano does it best. But also, you are on our VIP list. And they go, really? Go, yeah, you're one of our favorite patients. Now, I don't have any time available, but in the event that anything happens where we have a schedule change, I'm going to call you because you're on our VIP. See how you're prepping them for there might be some wiggling, but it's going to be a pull forward type of thing. Like we might have a crown that'll open up or a space to be able to do this dentistry in the next 3 weeks. So, thanks Frank for that one. It's so great because number one, you're reinforcing the behavior of the patient, because if you say that, number one, you got to be authentically saying it the right way. You are truly one of our favorite patients. You show up on time. You always pay. You're so appreciative of what we do. And we love just the relationship we have with you. So we'll throw those nuggets in here as we get going, but I want you to think first of how Jenni is trying to get our brains. And then let me jump back over here because we got a lot to cover. Now, one of the things I want you to think about is when people call, let's say we get them scheduled and they're trying to get out of the appointment. I mean, you guys are seeing more weird stuff than you've ever seen. You got to teach people how to treat you. One of the things that you want to make sure is that people can't just find out your hours, because if I'm a patient, I can call your office right now. Actually, I don't even want to call your office. I'm going to Google your office. I'm going to see that you have 8 to 5 hours. And if I don't want to come in or if I don't have any money, I'm going to call you at what time and leave a message. So if you're going to close at 5, I know I can call you at 5:04 and no one's going to pick up. And I'm going to do this. Hey, Nancy, this is Kirk. I'm sorry, I'm not feeling well. I know doctor has to see me tomorrow, but I can't come in. Now, let's just speak to this. COVID is a very real thing. You can't mess around with that. That's not at all what we're saying. But I want you to think like this. If you're going to cancel, you're going to call and you're going to talk to me first.
You have to talk to someone. I want you to require that someone speak to you if they're changing an appointment. Okay,
wait. Go back to that. Tell me why. Why.
Well, you don't want to make it easy for people to change their appointments.
Right.
And if you do have to change your appointment, there's a legitimate reason. I want to get you reappointed immediately.
Yeah.
I don't want my admin team to be spending time chasing you down, going back and forth to reappoint that. I want your after hours message to state very clearly, we do not accept any changes to the schedule via message, that we only accept changes to the schedule during business hours.
Oh man, that's a good one. So now think, this is one of those action items. If you're listening, if you're watching, doesn't matter. You gotta create some action items. I would go back to your message machine, because all of you have a message machine of some kind. It's got to be something that says, hey, thanks for calling our office. We're so excited that you called. And at the end of the message, it's got to teach people how to treat you. Say, this service does not accept any changes in schedule, or this message doesn't. In the event you need to make a change in schedule, please call back during the day and ask for Jenni. We'd be so happy to help you. Have a great day. And so you're going to
encourage doctors to record that message.
Wait, also. Why? This is great. Why?
So we made this change. There's something about, in my practice, my brother is actually one of the practitioners. So if you call, you hear, hey, this is Dr. Nick.
Yeah.
So great that you called. Look forward to seeing you. we did have a decrease in changes and a decrease in any messages about changes when we put his voice on the answering machine, because people didn't want to let him down.
Yeah. So I want you to think about this. If you're a dentist, you got to support the people that are in your practice. I had a dentist come up to me in Atlanta and he's like, dude, I don't know about that whole doctor thing. I'm a doctor. And I'm like, your ego, this is what I said to him, because I shouldn't have said this, but I said it in a nice way. I'm like, so you're telling me your ego won't because you won't put your voice on a message machine. You won't help those amazing people that work at the front, because here's the truth of it. Patients will violate your team members all day long. They will. My hope is they don't. But you know who they won't violate? They won't violate the doctor. Hey, this is Dr. So-and-so. Thanks. And it doesn't matter if it's a male voice or a female voice. They respect that relationship. And I think it's a really important thing. You're going to hear a lot of clicks, clicks, clicks. So an important piece to this whole thing is you can't let people just call you and avoid the conversation. If Jenny or I came and worked at any one of your front desks that you're listening right now, my first thought would be like, game on. This is probably not the right thing to say. I'm just getting older, you guys. I don't care anymore. So I'm 51. And if you have a lot of cancellations, I would go to work in your office and I would just think to myself, oh, little boy, you just try to cancel. You're not canceling on me. You're coming in. Oh, by the way, you're going to pay. And it's not because I'm going to be mean or malicious or anything like that. I'm just going to teach everybody. You're going to start respecting our time. You're going to start respecting our schedule. And in the process, you're going to start to value what we do, because you guys, they can like you, but they also have to respect you. And we'll share every secret about what we do, because it's not really a secret. You just have to now do it, which is the hard part. That's why you hire a coach. The secret to any great relationship-based practice that's crushing it outside of PPOs, and they're really crushing, is how they communicate and how they manage their time. Because you can reorganize time. We take out all the crap and make sure that you're doing the stuff that you love with the people that you love, and your life gets better. You experience joy at a high level, and you look up and you go, I can't even believe we produce this much. And there's no magic to it. You're just doing the things you should be doing with the people you love. Is that right? Yeah.
And what happens when those things are in place is you have mutual respect.
Yes. Totally agree.
And that's a game changer.
Yeah.
When I respect the people that are coming in my office and they respect me, there's a palpable difference.
Totally. Totally. So we're going to talk about the respect thing. But again, going back to when people cancel. So we're going to talk about when patients cancel and how you respond. Now, I want you to think like this. When you have patients that cancel, you don't respond the same way to everybody. You're going to collect yourself. You need a little bit of an emotional intelligence quotient here to say, how do I respond to each one of these people? So we'll go through each one of the scenarios and some nuances about it. But I want you to think like this. Cancellations in general, you don't want to put your patients on hold. I mean, for the most part, but I would say every time somebody tries to cancel, you're going to put them on hold every time. Now, for a couple reasons, for a few seconds, because you're going to be able to collect your thoughts. And again, it goes back to the whole, okay, somebody's trying to cancel. I'm just going to collect my thoughts. And how am I going to respond to this person? Because depending if they're doing it the first time, I'm going to express concern. If they're doing it for the 11th time, we're going to draw a line in the sand, because as soon as you say, it's okay, don't worry about it, you know what happens a 12th time, a 13th time. And these people, they're not bad people. You just haven't trained them how to behave in a dental practice. And we teach people how to treat us in a great business. And so you want to collect your thoughts. You're going to pull up their account and you're going to review their history. We're going to give you a couple tips on this. And you can look at something that's called the RFR, which is the reason for return. And you can decide if they're an A, B, or C patient. So if you're listening or watching, doesn't matter. I want you to write down RFR. I want you to put an RFR forever in every appointment. You're going to put it in the clinical notes, not in the appointment notes. And it's an opportunity for you to document something about the patient. It's 2 sentences, super simple, something about them clinically and something about them relationally, so that you could equip the person at the front desk with something that they can use in the event the patient starts to cancel. Remember, are you a transactional practice or are you a relational practice? Now, Your team members don't remember everything about the relationship up front. So we got to equip them with something. And one of my favorite RFRs is this, the patient's got a little bleeding on the lower left. She's going to get these 2 crowns done. And her only daughter, Andrea, is going to get married in 4 months. That's pretty important information. Now think about this. If I'm a front desk or an admin team member, I might not even know who this patient is or what she's coming back for, but I can pull up the RFR and the clinical notes and I can say, okay, shoot, she's got some bleeding on the lower left. She's going to do these 2 crowns and she's got her only daughter getting married in a couple months. I can now talk to her in a relational level. I can say, Mrs. Jones, are you sure you want to cancel this appointment? Now, remember, the last time you were in, you had some bleeding on the lower left. You're going to get these 2 crowns done and your only daughter's getting married in a couple of months. How important is it to a patient when their only daughter is getting married in a couple of months? It's pretty darn important. So anything you would add to that, Jenni, like when you're putting people on hold, what else would you coach people on as far as that?
A couple of things are like, this takes us all the way back to the beginning about why it's so important to listen. The RFR, what it is doing is it is letting people know we have listened to them, we have heard them, we are creating that trust and that safe space. Yep. So this one item is hitting on so many of these key concepts that we talked about in the first webinar. The other thing that's really important here, you're talking about the RFR. We're talking about responding based on a patient's history. You need to have excellent note-taking practices.
Yes.
If you don't know how your software works about breaking appointments or changing appointments, you need to know this. You need to learn how your software works. You need to have diligent note-taking, and everyone needs to know where the notes go and abide by these agreements, because if you don't do this, you cannot efficiently execute this system.
Absolutely. Amen to that. One of the rampant diseases in dentistry is computer utilization. So you might have Dentrix, and everybody tells, oh, I got Open Dental, I got EagleSoft, I got Dentrix. Well, the utilization in a lot of offices when we're coaching, it's so poor. It's like at 25%. Your team members don't even know how to use like 3/4 of the functions. They, this is for another webinar, but like people have to know how to break appointments or here's one, close out a month. It's amazing. Now, I hear all of it. Oh, the support is not that great. Hey, I get it. But the more that your team members are trained on how to adequately use a great tool like Dentrix, EagleSoft, or Open Dental, the better they can soar in this whole process. So Jenni, great point. Like in note-taking, come on, you guys. Everyone's like, well, no. What's that?
There's no excuse for not doing it.
There's none. Yeah. So you got to take great notes. All right. So now let's talk about the 3 different scenarios. So let's say an A patient calls. I'm going to gather myself. I'm going to pull up their history. And another thing I'm going to encourage you to do is create 3 appointment codes. Here they are. Late, no show, cancel. Late, no show, cancel. Now, I hope you would agree with me. Those are not 3 of the same behaviors. A late is not a no-show. A cancel is not a late. And so you don't want to use the ADA codes. In every software, you can create your own appointment codes. And what you can do is to start collecting data. And the data is basically tracking people's behavior. So when they've canceled 9 times, you just put in the appointment code. It'll show up in the ledger. And now as a team member, I'm equipped. You guys, I'm a wuss. Okay. So I hate conflict. And I love people. I don't want challenges with people. But I'll tell you, if I'm working the front desk and my team over the course of 4 years has entered all of these appointment codes, I can authentically talk to Mrs. Finelli about why she's canceled the 11 appointments, because I'm just going to print this out and chat with her. And, patients don't remember anything. They remember what they want to remember. And you can say something like this, Mrs. Jones, hey, it looks like our schedules aren't matching up. That's my favorite one.
You're jumping so far ahead.
I know. Forget it. I'm so You guys, I freaking love this stuff. I always wanted to be a school teacher. So you're right. All right, let's go back to the beginning. So, all right. So I just wanted to give you a preview of what we're going to talk about for hours and hours and hours and hours. Again, we want you. All right. Now, some of you might be like, get to it. You guys, we want to equip your teams with the great stuff they need to succeed. So if I'm working your front desk or your team members working in front desk and I'm putting this patient on hold, okay, she hasn't canceled. This is her first time. This is a big appointment. You're going to express concern. So I'm going to get back on with Mrs. Finelli and go, Mrs. Finelli, oh my gosh, are you okay? This is so unlike you. Now, watch how I said that. My verbal skills, I am reinforcing the behavior she's already exhibited to support it. So she never canceled. Mrs. Jones, Mrs. Finelli, you never canceled. This is so unlike you. Pause. Pauses are beautiful because sometimes patients just need to gather what you said or they want to say something. Oh my goodness. Gosh, we don't have anything for a while, and only say that if it's true. This is a great one. And I heard this first from Adriana, but I've also heard from all of our other coaches and some of the, when somebody's trying to cancel a big appointment today or tomorrow, go, oh man, Mrs. Finelli, first of all, are you okay? This is so unlike you. Oh man. All right, let me take a look here. I'm just looking at the schedule. Wow. You know, you got that wedding coming up and the bleeding in the lower left, and I know you're going to get these 2 crowns done. Let me see what man, there's a good chance. Gosh, we don't have anything for, is there any way you can make it today? That was a 4-hour time block, and we were so looking forward to seeing you. Now, you're not going to get every patient, but you're going to be blown away by the fact that you slow down and ask that. You might get 20%. Hey, 20% is better than 0%. What you can't have is somebody go, no problem. Totally understand. And then what happens is when you have a 4-hour opening or a 5-hour opening from Mrs. Finelli, who's a great patient, your team members go to the bottom of the river and they grab all this mud at the bottom of the river, which are these patients that have canceled 11 and 22 times and they owe you $2,100. And they start slapping all the mud in the schedule because they know your head's going to spin around and fly off if you see an empty chair. So the pause is really important. I'm going to empathize, and I'm going to see if there's any way I can get the patient to keep the appointment. Anything you would add on that, Jenni?
Yeah. This is a big one, and it's one of those like mind-blowing things for people. Like, write this down. I can't get what I don't ask for.
Ooh, yeah. Okay,
and
explain that. Don't go back to that. What does that mean?
You know, what I would like the outcome to be is for the patient to keep their appointment.
Yep.
And I'm not going to get there if I don't ask for it.
Right.
Right. And it's shocking how many people will say, you know what, actually, I think I can move something around. I'll be there.
Yep.
Right. And expressing concern. And again, I like to throw in, gosh, I have my RFR in there. We reserve this time, especially for you. I know the provider, whomever is going to be seeing you, was really looking forward to seeing you today. Is there anything you can do to keep this appointment? Is there any way you can make it in today?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm throwing in a little bit of guilt in there.
Oh,
to be honest.
There's nothing wrong with that because
my grandmother would be so proud of me.
25 years of doing this, somebody goes, I'm sorry, I can't make it today. And then you go to a party that night and they're at the party having the time of their lives. Or you go to the ball game and they're right in the ball game and drinking a beer. You're like, wait a minute, you just called my office and you were sick, but you're here drinking beers, so, and I don't want to throw everyone on the bus, but under the bus, but it's okay. Like, you got to remember, you got to have somebody who's the gatekeeper of your time. They have to understand, like, your time has to be protected with their lives, and verbal skills matter. So I don't mind guilting people into it because I'm not going to let them off the hook just because they don't want to come in or they don't feel like it or they feel a little bit stressed. No, you're going to keep this time if we can. And even when people are sick, it's so, again, COVID is not something to joke around. I don't even have a good response for somebody who says I might be COVID, I might have COVID. You have to honor that. That's just something we can't mess around with. But it's so funny when people say, I don't feel well today. One of the questions you might ask is, so what illness do you have? And they'll go, I have a runny nose, or like it's so amazing what they try to put up there. And I'm just going to encourage your team members to be strong, be confident, and calm when you're talking to patients, especially with A patients. Don't feel so bad about it. Now, a key piece to A patients, if they cancel, is you want to reschedule them as soon as we can. Just like Frank Graziano's office, like I told you about, I'm going to get them back as fast as possible because your whole goal is to keep your practice full with the right people with the right procedures. And you want to put them in a time slot that's good for us. Don't ever ask people, like, what works for you? Instead, say, all right, we're going to get you rescheduled. Let me find a time for you. And I'm going to guide you into the time that works best for us. Please, for heaven's sakes, don't ever say what works for you. If anyone in your practice ever says what works for you, let me tell you the first thing that's going on my mind. My first thought is you guys don't value what you do. if you're saying what works for you. No. The second thought is that you're going to come in the hours we work. Great providers or great restaurants or great anybody, they are built on making sure customers come in the times that work for them. So I want you to start thinking like that. And then after you reschedule them, you want to discuss the availability, just like Frank Graziano's office, and just let them know there's a good chance or a slim chance that if we have openings, I might be able to pull you forward. Any other thoughts you have on that, Jenny? I know I'm talking a lot here. I love this stuff, but
I think, right. I do think, and just want to reiterate that if an A patient calls and they do need to change their appointment, it's valid. They do need to move it. Do not violate your ideal day for them.
Yes.
Do not put them into that new patient block that you need to hold because it's an A patient and they're rescheduling. Yes, it's an A patient, but we need to honor our ideal day. And this concept of the VIP list, it's really important. People do like to be on a VIP list. It holds weight, right? That word, being on a short call list means meh, but being on a VIP list, right? It makes me feel important. And putting that out there at the beginning, I'm setting the expectation that I may pull you forward. So it makes it a little bit easier for admin team members to make that phone call to pull someone forward, even if it's a day or two, because I've already set the expectation that it could happen. This is a limiting belief that a lot of people have, that it's not okay for me to call someone and pull them forward even 48 hours.
Right.
But if I've set the expectation ahead of time, hey, if there's any changes in our schedule, I've got you on our VIP call list. Of course, that time is reserved for you, but I'll give you a call and let you know if there's an opportunity to come in sooner.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, listen very carefully what Jenny said if you're a dentist or a team member that works at the front, because I want to get your brain in the right place with this. As a dentist, you need somebody who's the gatekeeper of your time. They're protecting your time, and they're looking, I got next week, it's locked in. Then I'm going to go to the week after that and the week after that. And how I might do that is I might be calling patients 2 weeks out just to get a sense. I'm going to get them on the phone. I'm going to talk to them relationally because I'm going to look at the RFR and just talk to them about their appointment. Any hesitation where they go, oh, shoot, I totally forgot. School is out that day. All my kids will be home. You already know there's a 50% chance they're not going to make it. So again, I'm going to do what Jenny said. I'm going to pull them forward. And that way I'm going to stack green bricks all next week instead of red and green and yellow bricks. I'm going to get them mostly green, get them all blocked in. I just want you to think of a visual. And then I'm going to go to the next week and the next week and the next week after that. But again, this starts with different thinking. It starts with great verbal skills and creating value for the appointments. And another thing that you might want to say, because getting people on the phone is harder than ever. I get it. There are going to be some times where you're going to get their message machine. I'll tell you, I'm in a day and an age right now. I don't answer the phone at all. Not at all, unless I know exactly who it is. So I let everything go to voicemail, and I do mean everything, because there are things that you get, and you're like, I don't know why I picked this up. And again, I'm a wuss. So if anyone's talking to me, I can't hang up. I have to listen to their sales pitch for 20 minutes. And so, you might want to say, hey, listen, when you have somebody on a VIP list and you had a patient that called and they legitimately had COVID or they couldn't make it, you can say, hey, Mrs. Finelli, this is Kirk from Dr. Poulos' office, and we had an appointment today at 9 a.m. And you might be calling them earlier today. And wait, hold on. I'm jumping way ahead of myself because this is when they're late. Okay, let me go back. Okay, so you're going to pull them forward and with that, but let me go back to when they're late. So again, if they're late and you haven't talked to them, I want to get them on the phone and you're going to say, hey, listen, I'm expressing concern. I'm worried about you. Hope you're okay. This is so unlike you. And we're going to leave that on the message machine. Please call us back at your earliest convenience at this number. And I just want to make sure you're okay and see if we can help you get to your appointment or get your appointment rescheduled. And I would probably hesitate on the word rescheduled. So my brain is full of ideas here, Jenny, but like anything you would add on that one?
No, again, I mean, if it's an A patient, I'm being authentic in that, gosh, I hope you're okay. We are expecting to see you at 9:00 today. I hope everything's all right. Give us a call back at your soonest convenience. I look forward to speaking with you. Absolutely.
So you just want to express concern on that whole thing. And another, I like when hygienists can say this too. We have a lot of hygienists. They will handle their own cancellations in their own app. They'll use a great app like Weave, and they'll be able to communicate with patients. They can text them through the app and say, "Hey, Joe, hope you're okay. It's 10 minutes after the hour. I just want to make sure you're okay." And they can get some type of engagement. Now, again, these are with a patient. And then when you're dealing with people that, can't keep the appointment, again, we're going to pull the RFR, take a look at their history, and then I'm going to make sure that we can schedule a time in which they can definitely keep and maybe offer one or two options, but they're going to be our options. Now, let's move to when B patients cancel. So what I consider a B patient, and I got to be careful about this because I like to, again, as you get older, you just create filters. You're like, okay, I know myself really well. And here's how to look at this. A patients, they basically fit two criteria. They show up and they pay. Has nothing to do with how rich they are, what social circles they run in, who they're related to, how, it doesn't matter. Your favorite patients, they show up and they pay. You might add a third is if you like them. Now, you don't have the ability as a young dentist to put in the third filter when you're just getting started because you can't choose who you pick and like. You're going to be working on everybody until you turn the corner and you're like, okay, now I'm going to just start scheduling people that I enjoy, that fit our core values. And that's when your practice really takes off. So if B patients call or cancel or try to reschedule, a lot of times we just don't have enough data. So Jenni, there are people that have moved from North Carolina and they now live in Denver. And, we've only had them in the office one time, and so they're canceling or they're trying to reschedule. How do we get our brains in the right place when it comes to a B patient canceling?
Well, the process always starts the same, having good notes in there and putting them on hold and looking at the history. It's always going to it's going to start similarly. And I'm going to get back on and I'm still going to follow that process of, I want to know what happened, share with me what's going on, pause and listen. But my response is going to be a little bit different next in when I'm going to offer them an appointment. If someone has showed that they aren't really respecting and honoring my time, I don't want to tell them that it's okay to continue to do so, and I'm going to make that easy. So after I ask you to keep the appointment and you tell me no, I'm not looking at my first available appointment for you.
Yeah.
I'm pushing you down the road.
Absolutely. And again, don't make this any harder than it needs to be. You're just collecting data points. People that haven't canceled, they're in the 0, 1 range. Those are A patients. People that have canceled 2 or 3 times, or maybe this is their second time, or we don't have enough data, and they're kind of in that zone where you're like, I'm not sure. But then you've got the other people. And you know who the other people are. They have canceled 11 times. They're related to the doctor. They're probably the doctor's sister or best friend from high school. And they've canceled every single time and they owe the practice money. Those would clearly fit the C patients. They're not bad people. They just have not demonstrated a value for what you do. And they keep devaluing it over and over again. So when a B patient tries to cancel, again, I'm going to go back to this. I want you to keep your appointment. That's how I'm thinking. Mrs. Finelli, we had that time reserved just for you. It's just too late. It's 1:15 right now and your appointment started 15. It's too late to call another patient, come in for that time. Gosh, is there any way you can make it? And you might also include, gosh, it's going to be a couple of weeks before we're going to be able to get you back in. And you got to say that authentically, but I'm not going to reschedule these people if it's the second or third time they've done it. I'm going to put them a little bit further out because I want to let them know that this is not okay. The other thing you're going to be able to do is look at the RFR. And you can say, the bleeding on the lower left and those 2 crowns, gosh, we're going to have you looking fabulous for that day, that wedding day. I don't know if we should delay this. Is there any way you can make it today? And then just pause. Now, again, you're not going to save all of them. But if you save 5 out of 10, that's a huge impact on the practice. And if they say no, you can just go back and say, okay, listen, all right, let me find you a time. It's probably going to be about 3 or 4 weeks. So I'm going to introduce that. I'm going to introduce expectations right up front and say it's going to be a while before we can get you back in. And then we can discuss going on our, ASAP or VIP list. Now, lastly, and then
really quick.
Okay.
And say something because I've gotten this question oftentimes from team members when a B patient calls and they say, what if I have an opening on my schedule tomorrow?
Ooh, okay. So what would you do?
I am still going to encourage you. This creates a little bit more work, but I also am thinking long-term about I am training a patient's behavior. I'm not going to give them tomorrow. I'm going to offer them an appointment down the road, a month, when the B patient kind of opening is. And I'm going to still put in a little bit more effort to fill that with one of my A patients on my VIP list that is deserving of it. I may end up calling back that B patient later and saying, Mrs. Jones, it is your lucky day. I had a change, and if you can confirm 100% that you can be here tomorrow, we can see you.
Yeah.
But there's a big difference between me giving them that appointment immediately and me giving it to them, calling them at the end of the day for it.
Yeah. Now think about this. If you're a dentist and you're listening and you've got somebody like Jenni fighting for your time, for all of your career, she's making things happen. And so my hope is you have a good enough relationship with those people at the front and the back of your practice that they understand, like, we got to work hard to protect the doctor's time. We got to train these people, because if you do this year over year over year, you're going to see that you're working with people that you've trained and they're your friends. They've now become your friends and they care about the same things that you care about. And naturally, your production, the byproduct of all of this beautiful stuff, of great verbal skills, great thinking, great systems, great coaching, great everything, is you wake up one day and you go, damn, like today I worked with unbelievable people all day long and I was doing the procedures I love doing. And I can't even believe I produced that much. And it wasn't your goal. You just looked up and you're like, that's when the magic of beautiful dentistry starts to happen. So people want the result, but they never want to do the hard work it takes. Like, my problem with the whole world, and this is kind of a little bit of a riff, is everybody wants the medal for the marathon, but nobody wants to ever do the 16 weeks of training. The medal's the reward. It's like a token, it's kind of like something, part of the marathon is the marathons. If you've ever run a marathon, it's your reward for training for 16 weeks. The marathon is actually fun. It's enjoyable. It's an out-of-body experience. So the same thing applies to your, really investing in your team, having a great coach, getting the verbal skills. It's hard work. Once you get all the hard work in place, then magic starts to happen. You're like, I don't even know how that happened this morning, and that patient's coming in. She's paid. She values what we do. And my days are starting to work the way that they should. So we've got to get all those basics in place. Now let's go to the opposite end of the spectrum. You might be listening going, Kirk, you do not understand where I practice. Like, I have people that cancel all day long. Well, my friend, you've created a little bit of that, and now we're going to get you out of that mud. But when people call that are C patients, and again, they're not bad people. They're just demonstrating data that shows that they don't value what we do. We're going to respond to them differently. So if I'm working your front desk, I'm going to pause. I'm going to pull that data. I'm going to look at the RFR. I'm going to look at, these appointment codes, and I'm going to say, this patient is crazy and she's canceling. And so I'm going to say something like this: Mrs. Finelli, I'm just looking at your notes here. It looks like we have had this reserved 3 different times for you over the past few weeks. And she's going to go, and you're going to go, I don't know. And remember, this is called a triad. So it's not me versus you. It's me and you looking at a third piece of information or data. And it's really important. It's data. And it looks like you've canceled this appointment under very short notice. Let me just see. Yeah, looks okay. Again, long pause, maybe for 20 seconds. Gosh, it seems that these scheduled visits just aren't working very well in your schedule. I'll tell you what, let's do this. Why don't you call me on a day in which you're going to be available, and I'll do my best to see if we can get you in. I'm not going to put them on a short call list. Now, again, this is just me saying this. You might say, I'm going to put you on a short call list. No, if you've canceled many times, I am now going to let you know this is not okay. And you're going to fight to get back into our practice, because I'm going to do the best I can to change your behavior and how you work with us. But if it doesn't work, that's totally okay, because you're going to keep canceling on us over and over and over again. Another thing you might be able to say is, it just looks like our schedules aren't matching up. Pause. And I already said this. Let's do this. And I'll tell you this, you guys might be thinking, well, yeah, whatever. If I'm working your front desk and somebody's getting 2 crowns done and they've canceled 4 or 5 times, and now they call me at 8:00 in the morning, they're like, I want to get these crowns done. I will find a way to get these 2 crowns in. You better believe it. So it's really important just to think a little bit different. Anything you would add on that, Jenni?
No, I mean, I think this is one that's really scary for people.
Mm-hmm.
It's scary when you tell someone, I don't want you to reschedule them.
Right.
You're not inviting them back to the practice, essentially. You will be surprised that the impact that it will have oftentimes just by telling someone, just like asking if they can keep their appointment, telling them I'm not going to reschedule you right now, I'm not going to reserve another time for you, is shocking to most people when they hear it.
Yes.
And they may completely change their tune and show up in 10 minutes.
It's okay to freak people out a little bit. You need somebody confident enough, and they might not start at confident, but that's why we're doing this whole series. You get a team member who's all in on your core values. You can train them on some of these things. Verbal skills you can improve. Now, I can't fix attitude. That's not something, we're not attitude rehabilitators. Some people do improve their attitudes just by putting them into a better environment. But if you get really good at these verbal skills, you can make magic happen in dental practice, and you can connect with people. And that's why you never stop learning on these things. You can always create a better practice with great verbal skills up front. Now, other things that happen with C patients, sometimes they show up late. You have people that don't value you. Sometimes they still show, but they show 15 minutes late for the appointment. Does that happen in your practice? Of course it does.
You have to have some level of agreement about what's, how late is too late and for what different types of appointments.
Absolutely. Now, you and I might differ on this one, and I want to know, and I, always defer to what Jenni says because she's the brilliant one. But like when people show up late, it's been taught forever, we reschedule them. I don't know if that's a great idea. Only because here's the cool part. You're listening to this. You can decide. You don't have to do what I suggest, but you've got to determine the threshold. Like Jenni said, there's got to be parameters where people aren't just making decisions anecdotally on their own. And my whole thing is at 15 minutes, so if you're at 10 minutes late for the appointment or 15 minutes late, anything before 15 minutes, we're going to express concern with an A patient. Hey, Joe, you're 10 minutes late. I'm going to call you on your behavior and let you know, either on the phone or on your, Joe, you're 10 minutes late. Gosh, for your scheduled appointment, we're just worried about you. Is everything okay? You never miss your appointments. You're never late for your appointments. And if you're talking to them in person, they'll go, yeah, I'm fine. I'm just stuck in traffic. I had a meeting. All right, just want to make sure you're okay. I'm going to go back. I'm going to tell the doctor or hygienist and see if we can still get that treatment in. I'm pretty sure that we can. But let me check with Dr. Awesome, and we'll be ready for you. When do you think you're going to be here? And they'll tell you something, and you could probably add 5 or 10 minutes to whatever they say. And we're going to get started. We're going to do as much as we can today, but I'm so glad you're okay. And you can only say this. Now, the caveat to this is if you're always late, you can't call people on their lateness. That is like the blind calling. It's terrible. You have to be a practice that values time, that runs on time in order to call people on their time. So you can only say that in that respect. Another thing that you might want to be able to say when people show up late is, and I like how Behrendt says this. Dr. Behrendt Straub is a member of the ACT team. I love what he says to his patient. Now, he loves all of his patients, but he'll say to a patient, either in hygiene or restorative, Mrs. Jones, as you can see, it's 10 or 15 minutes after the hour. I don't have the time to give you the care you deserve today. We're going to do the best we can, and we're going to get started. But in the future, I'm going to need you to be here for the whole hour in order for us to give you the time to give you the care you deserve. And then you don't have to feel bad that they're late. You can still charge them for you're not billing for time. You're billing for an outcome, a result, a service, So, Jenni, do you charge for people when they're late? Or do you how do you handle patients that are late?
Yeah. Again, there's some level of agreement based on appointments.
Right.
We're a periodontal practice, so we see a lot of post-operative appointments, tons and tons of post-operative appointments. Some of them are only 15 minutes long. So you can't be late for that appointment.
Right.
Not be 10 to 15 minutes late for a postoperative appointment because the appointment is over. If you are 10 to 15 minutes late for a 2.5 hour procedure, I'm gonna have some different agreements with the team about that.
Yeah.
One thing that I think you'll find as you train patients to behave in the way that you want them to behave, if your A patients are going to be late because they will call to tell you.
That is a very important point. And think about a career of that. People will call you because you've maybe guilted them previously, or you've set expectations the right way. They know how to behave. They feel bad when they violate your time.
Yeah.
So they'll call you and go, I'm not going to make it today. I am so sorry.
Or I'm in my way. Jenni, oh my gosh, like, please tell Dr. Nick I'm on my way. I'm stuck in traffic. We're in Denver, but we have a lot of patients that come down from the mountains. So there is the reality of winter and driving out of the mountains. And sometimes you really have an hour drive that turns into 2 hours. It's a real thing.
Yeah.
And those patients that are our A patients, we will know every step of the way where they are along the way in that journey, because they know that we have reserved the time for them, and they respect our time and want to be in communication with us. And you know what? Those A patients that are calling me every 15 minutes to say, I'm stuck, I'm moving, this is what's happening, we might stay through to lunch for them because they have exhibited respect for us. That
is an awesome point. I'm so glad you brought that up. What I hope is, if you're listening, you don't have somebody at your office, and this is your fault if you're the dentist, who says, that's okay when people cancel all day long. You can't have people, I don't know who said this either, I love this. You can't have people kick you in the shins and then you reward them with a Snickers bar. You can't do that. Like, you can't. When they violate you, you got to have somebody who just says, okay, let's sort this a little bit, because I got to protect the doctor's time. What you want people to do is pause, think a little bit better, improve verbal skills. I have like 30 more thoughts, but this particular session could go on for 2 solid hours. Now, I'm just going to remind you, if you haven't seen the previous webinars in, podcasts that we've done, go back to actdental.com/verbal. You'll get all of them. And then even if you're watching or listening to this, I want you to reach out to us. If you have something that shows up in your office that's unique and we haven't even, touched the surface of it, send us an email, Kirk@actdental.com or Jenni, JENNI @actdental.com. We love this stuff. I mean, if you've had it in your office, I guarantee you we've dealt with it probably several hundred times. We see the weirdest stuff. We see the best of dentistry. We also see the worst of dentistry, like, just because we get to see it, and everybody's vulnerable with us. I'll just tell you, it doesn't matter where you're at. We're going to help you get out of the mud. I love this stuff so much. Reach out to us. We will help you every step of the way. And in the meantime, whether you're working on the front desk, your practice, whatever, come join us. We've got our inner circle where we have doctors from all over the country working together. It is a fabulous community. One of my favorite things we've ever done. And I never wanted to be the smartest person in the room. And now we've created it where I'm not, you guys are going to see this. I'm not even smart. I just like hanging around with other people that are really smart. You're going to see how our best dentists from all over the country, owners, leaders, thinkers, you're going to see how they think. You're going to be in a room with us virtually and in person. It'll blow your mind. And if you're just sitting there, now again, if you're listening to this and you're like, dentistry, I don't know, it's hard. It is hard. Okay. Running a business is very hard. Being an entrepreneur is very lonely. Do not stay alone. Because if you stay alone, you're going to talk to yourself. And it's not good self-talk. It's usually really bad self-talk. And then your son, like mine, who's 13, will go, Dad, you're talking to yourself. And I'm like, you can see that? It's not. Oh, he's 14. That's right. That was yesterday or 2 days ago. Thank you for, I don't know. I want to keep them little forever. But like, the whole idea is put yourself in a circle. And by osmosis, all this stuff is going to come off and just change the way you think. So join us at Inner Circle. And if you want to be a real serious student and you're just like, I got a big practice or I got to practice and I don't have time to sit down and explain all this stuff to your team, call us and you can be a pro coach. That's for the serious students. We're going to roll up our sleeves and I'm going to send somebody like Jenni to your office and we're just going to clean it up for you. So you can join us, do it on your own, or you can have us help you do it. And so our invitation's open. Just come join us at any time. But start at the actdental.com/verbal skills. And then you're going to see we're going to be bringing the next series that you're going to see are going to be the 8 outgoing phone calls. You don't want to miss that one because most dental offices just focus on incoming phone calls. No, my friends, you have to have a regular system of outgoing phone calls to help aid the practice and what happens in the next couple of weeks. And we're going to cover all of those, how to do it, what to say, and all those details in our next webinar. Any last thoughts, Jenni?
No, as always, grateful to be here. I love talking about this stuff. Makes me excited that I know people are listening and growing. And I love being a part of a team with the teams that I get to coach. And this kind of makes me feel like I get to be a part of a lot more teams out there. So that's cool.
Amen, sister. Thank you for joining on and sharing your wisdom. And thank you guys for listening to the Best Practices Show. Until we see you next time, keep watching and hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day.
Have a great day, everybody.